Everyone, welcome to the Railroad Transportation Safety District meeting of Tuesday, March 3rd. I'm Jane Raybould, representing the City Council. We have Rick Vest representing Lancaster County Commissioners, and to my left is Roy Christensen, and to my right is James Michael Bowers representing the City of Lincoln. So I would also like to remind everyone at the back of this chamber we have a copy of the Open Meetings Act. Next item is approval of the meeting minutes from December 2nd, 2019.
I move approval of December 2nd, 2019 minutes.
I second.
And it was approved by Christensen, seconded by Vest. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Bowers?
Yes.
Christensen?
Yes.
Raybould?
Yes.
Vest?
Yes.
Terrific. And we have Roma Amundsen representing Lancaster County Commissioners. Next item, we're on number 4, report of statement of financial activity, and we are going to welcome Dennis Meyer, Finance Director for the county.
All right, good morning. I am subbing for Ron Rohde that usually comes. He decided Arizona and spring baseball was a better deal, so you guys get me today. So let's talk about the financial activity. So the report that is out there will just show you our revenues and our disbursements throughout the fiscal year so far. On the revenue side, the majority of our revenues coming in are property taxes. We've collected, and this is through really February 14th, we've collected 55%, so we've collected 2.7 of the $5 million. Interest is the other revenue that we receive, and we've actually collected $97,209, which is actually over and above the budget of $60,000 that we budgeted for. So interest at this point in time is still coming in a little bit better than expected. So overall, revenues are sitting at about 56%. Just as a heads up, the first half of collections will start rolling in, so we'll be hitting that portion. So by the next time you have this report, that first half will have been collected. On the disbursement side, when we get into that, overall budget that we've spent is actually at 18%. Our budget's $6.367 million. We spent about 1.177. When you look at that, we break it out between commissions and operating costs. Both of those are at about 45%. As far as the construction going, that is at the 18%, and that's just a little over $1 million that's been spent. On our balances with our cash and investments, our total fund balance at February 14th was a little over $10.6 million. The majority of that is sitting in investments. We've got about $560,000 sitting in cash at that time. And then on the report, we just kind of break down that $10.1 million in the different types, CDs, money markets that we've got sitting at the different banks. So that's what I kind of wanted just to explain today. So if you got any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Meyer? I guess
Okay.
not. Thank you very much.
Yep, you bet.
Now, do we need to approve?
I
Okay.
move approval of the financial report.
Moved to approve by Christensen, seconded by Amundsen. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Bowers?
Yes.
Christensen?
Yes.
Raybould?
Yes.
Vest?
Yes.
Amundsen?
Yes.
Okay, and it looks like we are going on to number 5 and 6. We'll do together, being presented by Roger Feigard. Welcome.
Good morning, Roger Feigard, and I will pull up, as I've told you in the past, favorite little one-page report that shows previous budgets. And today I'll just quickly go over where we are on the current budget and then give you kind of what I'm thinking for the budget for next year. The top third of the report that's currently on the projector is operating. And as Dennis said, we're at about 40, a little over 50%. The biggest single item left in there would be the other half, the executive director's pay from the city, another $24,000. I don't see any issues or concerns with the operating portion of the budget. I think we'll finish like we normally do, probably between 75 and 85% of that. So then thinking about next year, the far right column is the proposed budget that would be before you at the June board meeting for approval. This is giving you a heads up of kind of what I'm thinking, so that then if you think of something else, you can give me direction. There is a total increase proposed in the operating budget of a little over $4 million. Excuse me, $4,000.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thinking of the big numbers down below. And those are made up with the superintendent services. I added 1,000 to that. The city has not increased what they've charged for the superintendent services for the last 4 or 5 years. And I know that their salary costs have gone up, and by agreement, the RTSD agrees to pay 25% of a position, and that's gone up. So that's making room for that to go up just a little bit. I increased the legal services $1,000 from 9 to 10. Later on, I'll talk just a little bit about electronic filing and contracts and some of those kind of things. Again, if we don't need it, we don't spend it. I increased the accounting and auditing services from 12.5 to 13.1, and that simply is to cover the proposed letter of engagement that's also on your agenda today, should you approve that. And then I increased and put an item in there for postage for 1.5 or $1,500. Typically, it's been cheaper for us to, when we have public meetings and we need to send out some large mailings, we just pay for that through our normal postage here, and it's actually cheaper than running it through the project and through a consultant and doing all that mailing. So we have a couple public meetings that'll be coming up this year, and I want to have some postage money in there. So the FY20 budget was $100,300, and I would propose that it go to $104,200. Okay, down below in the projects itself, thinking about where we are, the lower portion of that sheet. In the actuals, we still have 82% of the budget available to us. The biggest expenditure through February 14th was $870,000. That is for the engineering work and the NEPA environmental work that's ongoing with Olson's, with the contract that you signed or approved in December. Everything else is really on track. Remember, sometimes we budget money to make sure we have money available, so if something happens, you pay for it. If it doesn't get paid for or charged, then we carry it over to the next year. That would be the case with OPPD at Pine Lake, the $600,000. OPPD has not yet put in the gates and lights down there on that east of Campbell's on Pine Lake Road. I still expect that may happen before the end of this fiscal year, but sometimes the railroads are slow. So if we pay the $600 out before July 1st, there won't be $600,000 in next year's. It will have been spent. The same with the Jamaica Trail North contract with K2 is signed to build the bridge. The final steps in signing the construction and maintenance agreement with the railroad is being finalized. I think it's approved, but there may be some paperwork, so I'd expect that invoice to come in the next few weeks as well. I did want to say, I wanted to go back up to the Hastings sub relocation. There's a $366 expenditure in there. Because of cash flow and changes in the budget and the available cash, we had kind of slowed that project down, and we'd moved construction clear out 6 years. I continue to show $100,000 in each of the future years so that if something come up and we needed to move ahead, we could. But that 366, I went ahead and just closed out the contract with Olson's. It's not a good idea to just let a contract or an agreement languish on and on when nothing is going on. So we've closed that out. If work comes back up, I would bring back a contract back to the board to continue to work on that. So again, as Dennis had indicated, we've only spent about a little under 1.2 million so far. The rest of the expenditure for the rest of the year, I would expect by July 1st of the $4 million contract to Olson's for 33rd and Cornhusker, we'll probably be between 2 and 2.5 million. So then I'm estimating 2.5, so the other 1.5 million of that 4 I would be carrying over, and I added it to what was in our second year of 2.5 million, well, 1.5. And just, it's a coincidence that it comes out 4 again next year, but I'm expecting to carry that over. So I think capital contract wise, we're doing fine. We had spent nearly a little over 200,000 in crossing improvements. I don't currently have any invoices that I'm waiting on. There are some projects, and I'll talk about that in a minute coming up. So doing fine as far as construction projects in our CIP. The proposed budget then, I would recommend continuing for crossings, the 250,000 for the city, the 50,000 for the county, for a total of 300. Salt Creek Underpass, we carry over the 500 or the 50,000. Miscellaneous engineering and emergency and safety would recommend again continuing the 100,000 in each of those. I just mentioned 33rd and Cornhusker. The current CIP only shows 2.5 million. I'd be adding the other $1.5 million, what we would pay out in the upcoming year for a total of 4. The Hickman Quiet Zone would be coming up for reevaluation in this next budget year, so we have $15,000 proposed in there. In the past, the RTSD has helped the road authority, whether it be Waverly or the city of Lincoln, pay for those updates. Salt Creek Levee, 50,000 continues to carry. I don't know whether they're ever going to do that. Southwest Lincoln Feasibility Quiet Zone, which is an offshoot of the Hobson Yard relocation. I'm just leaving some money in there in case we need to resurrect that. The sub relocation just would continue the 100,000. We don't currently have a contract, so we may or may not need that. The Pine Lake and Jamaica Trail, the 600, 701, those probably will be paid out, and if they are, when we bring the budget back in June, those will be 0, or a nominal, perhaps $5,000 or $10,000 for any remaining expenses that might carry over. Continue to carry the 25,000 for West Woodstruck in case the county engineer decides we need to do something out there. We're kind of on hold. And then I would expect an invoice for the RTSD share of the study on North 48th Street underpass just south of Cornhusker Highway. That work, much of it has already been done. I'm just waiting on an invoice. So that would bring us to recommending a total CIP of just a little over $6 million. The total for next year would be 637,700, but again, those numbers will change as we get through the rest of the year and pay that out. One of the things I might point out, sometimes the question is asked, boy, the RTSD's got a lot of cash in the bank, but remember, we're kind of a pay-as-you-go organization, and to pay for future projects, sometimes you need a pretty good cash balance to start. And in that financial report, we also had added 2 columns. In 2018, the fund balance ended up a little over $16.4 million. In 2019, our cash balance was down to $11.3 million. And I'm anticipating or estimating when we finish this year that the cash balance is going to be about 10.6 or 10.7. So that cash balance is dwindling a little every year. And what is important about that is it doesn't take a loss of very much cash up here to make it impossible to continue to go on out. I have one cash flow, realizing what I'm presenting you today is simply a proposed budget for where we're going to go. On the screen right now is a simulated cash flow, and what it really represents is the current year that we're in 1920, our current levy is 1.4717, down 3/4 cent from the year before. And I have shown, because of general discussion, I have shown that same levy, the 1.47, continuing next year to show as an example. And then if you look at the far right down in the middle, in there you will see the red numbers. What that simply means is at the point in time, if we continue that current levy another year and aren't able to restore in the third or fourth year of our program, when 33rd and Cornhusker is ready to start right-of-way acquisition and getting started for construction, we'll be in the red. So that obviously isn't something that we can do. So between now and then, we'll need to continue to watch and, try to encourage. Hopefully, the county board can help restore that, but I don't know exactly what they will be able to do this year. So that's the basis, the basis of the budget and the 12 years, what I run the one cash flow on. Again, that's not final, but to give you an idea that sometimes, again, 16 million, 11 million, 10 million, we're continuing to dwindle. That 3/4 cent reduction adds up pretty quickly over time in the reduction of cash balance and available budget money. I try to answer any question. Please look at the budget, look at that CIP. I welcome your input for other projects. I will continue to talk to city engineering, county engineer about other things that might need to be done in the city and the county as well.
Right.
Talk a little bit about the Hobson Yard, what kind of progress we're having there, and where does it look like for the future?
Well, the simple answer is when we lost 3/4 cent in the levy last year, I had no choice but to defer and move that project out 6 years. So right today, we aren't doing anything. We're sitting and waiting, trying to get the railroad to focus on 33rd and Cornhusker and firm up their commitments and agreements on that first. There are several important issues on Hobson Yard, and they have to do with switches and operation at First and J, and just some costs and what the railroad can accept. To do that project, we may not be able to do it in a way that meets all of their desirable criteria, so knowing what they might or might not be willing to accept. So we're kind of on hold. I have a reminder to, once we get over the hump with 33rd and Cornhusker with the railroad and an agreement, that would be the next highest priority. But we're kind of leaving people hanging out there.
Roger, I have a question for you. I can't see the year, did you say in the third year from 2020 and 2022?
FY 23-24, we would go negative.
Negative.
And then it would continue negative in 24, 25, and 25, 26.
And could you review for the viewing audience Lancaster County Board's commitment at keeping the levy there or increasing the levy to where it was
I'm glad
before?
Dennis is sitting back here. What I would tell you when we come in
Dennis.
June and we pull this up, I did attend a mid-year conference. At this point, I can't tell you what the county board will do. I know there are more needs and wants than there are dollars. I will be bringing you a budget that is shown here and asking you to request the county board to restore or bring some of that back. What they'll be able to do, I don't know, and at that, I think I would turn it over to Dennis. He can.
Right, and on that, I don't know that at this point we really have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the budget process is just going to get started here, this month, and we'll start by getting our requests and stuff like that to see kind of where we're at. Now, we did do a mid-year budget probably about a month ago, and through some of that information that we obtained, there's going to be requests, there's going to be things that are coming up that that the county board's going to have to make some decisions on. So I think this piece of it is just part of it.
So Dennis, could you review, I guess, on the city side, I thought it was my understanding, based on the agreements, that the county board was going to restore the Railroad Transportation Safety District levy to its prior, coming up in the next year?
I think that probably, let me answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and Rick, please help me with that if there's
Sure.
if there's some clarification needed. But what it was is that we had talked about for 2 years, that it would stay in place for 2 years, the reduction. And this was with the idea that the wheel tax would be assessed. That failed, because it would take 1 year for the wheel tax to have been put into place so that we would actually get the money. So the understanding was for a 2-year period of time. We are in a quandary right now because the wheel tax did not go as we had wanted. And so that's what the question is right now. And we don't have the money to replace that. We don't have and we really don't know what the budget is going to be for this next year. So we would, the intent is at some point in time, yes, we would like to replace it, but the agreement was for a 2-year period of time.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that agreement was more of a verbal agreement?
It was a verbal agreement, yes.
Okay, all right. So from my point, between March and June is the time for continued discussions, see what happens with the financial projections. If you as a board member have desires and hopes of what happens with that, I hope there are conversations that go on to help further that along so we have a better idea in June. So, okay?
And James Michael.
So since I'm new to the RTSD board, can you kind of outline like what's going to happen when it goes into negative, like what the outcome of that's going to be?
Well, I would tell you it won't go negative. We will defer activities or expenditures. To the best of my knowledge, we can't go negative. We need to have cash on hand to pay for contracts and commitments that we make. So based on that, we need to go back and do a couple things. Either we need to find more money, increase the levy, or we'll have to find a way to defer or delay other projects, including potentially 33rd, to make that positive, James.
So if that doesn't get, I'm just trying to figure this. So if that doesn't get fixed, then some of these projects are going to have to be slowed down or deferred for a longer period of time.
Yeah, and I think what I would tell you is the big expenditure is 33rd and Cornhusker. The other expenditures are relatively minor by comparison to the total pot, so it really would be 33rd. I don't want to say the sky is falling, but we need to look ahead because as the cash goes down, it just makes it more difficult in the future. But if the levy stayed where it is, then I think part of my job over the upcoming year would be working through estimates. Are there other places to get some additional revenue? Or just what else can we do to keep us from going negative and keep the project moving ahead?
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions of Roger? I will entertain a motion to approve.
Actually, I don't need a motion. Those are just reports of where we are.
Okay.
And we will use them for future discussion.
Okay.
So, okay.
Well, thank you. Then we are ready to go on to number 7, consideration of audit and budget contract with HBE.
Tony Jarina from HBE is here today. What you have in the attachment that was online is the standard letter of engagement. And just reminding folks, they not only would be helping in preparing the budget for 2021 that's required, needs to go to the state auditor. In that next year, So between now and July, working on the budget for us, and then in the upcoming year, in that same budget year, would be doing an audit of the previous year. So, and Tony's here to give you a little bit more information.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Tony Girino with HBE LLP, and it's been a pleasure working with the RTSD over the years, performing their audits and their budgets. And I'm here to submit our engagement letter for the upcoming year. It will include not only my presence here at the board meetings, monitoring them, but also the preparation of your audit for the 2020 year end, and the preparation of your budget for the 2021 year end, and the probable revisions and things like that that we'll go through over the coming months. So we are proposing a fee of $13,100 for all of these activities, and it is like a $600 increase over the prior year. We feel that is a reasonable increase, considering that we looked at our billing time that we put in last year. It was about $14,300 worth of time and effort into the audit, and we only billed $12,500, so we did only realize about 87% on the audit, which is normal for governmental audits due to the amount of information that is required. Not only do we deal with the AICPA, we also deal with the Government Accounting Standards Board, and they do require a wealth of information. If you look at your audit reports over the last few years, you will see a huge increase in the amount of information that are in these reports, and we feel that this fee is reasonable for the amount of information and detail that we put into these reports for you.
I would probably echo that as well. We always hate to see increases, but the longevity, the consistency, the familiarity with both HBE and Crosby Gunsel, I think, continue to serve the RTSD well, and they are doing that at a lesser rate than the industry standard. So my recommendation would be to approve that letter of engagement for the upcoming year.
I move approval of the audit and budget contract with HBE.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Approved by Christensen, second by Amundson. Is there any discussion? I do have a question, because it seems like every year in 2019, 2020, and now 2021, there has been a $600 increase every year, so $1,800 over a 3-year period.
Correct, yes. Many of our audits, we try to get our audits at least a 90% realization rate. It has been increasing over the years. We've been down to like 70%, and it's increasing to 85%, and just last year it was 87%. So we're trying to get it into the 90% range, just so we can continue to put more time into the audit. And now remember, the number that I gave you is 87%. That does not include some of the time probably that wasn't even billed on the audit by some of the workers. They try to get the report out in a timely manner, and probably they don't put their time in on it, and including me on some of these meetings here. So probably the time that we spent on the audit is a little bit more than 14,000. So.
And then for how many years have you been doing the work for the RTSD?
Well, my previous audit firm, Mesick and Crouch, since we merged in with HBE about 5 years ago, they have been doing that quite a long time, actually.
Mesick and Crouch were on board when I started in 1991.
Okay. Great. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Okay. We can go on to the next item. Thank you very much. Next item is number 8, consideration of Operation Lifesaver and their request. I understand we have a guest here, Carol Daly. Welcome.
Yes, Carol Daly is you can feel free to use, you can use that microphone if you want to. I'll hand out the picture for you.
Okay.
Carol is the Executive Director of Operation Lifesaver Nebraska, and I really appreciate the fact that she's here today. I've been attending their meetings for the last year and a half and find our mission and the goals of the organization very much in line. And she's here to tell you a little bit more about Operation Lifesaver and the request that's before you today.
Good morning,
Good morning.
and thanks for having me today. In your package, you have a little handout, or the invoice and the letter that I have sent out. But Operation Lifesaver is a national nonprofit rail safety educational organization dedicated to reducing vehicle train collisions, deaths, and injuries. And we're in 50 states and 6 countries. You know, we're a national organization. I happen to be the state coordinator or the executive director of Nebraska Operation Lifesaver. And we have trained volunteers that provide free rail safety presentations to schools, businesses, professional truck drivers, school bus drivers, first responders, and the general public. One of the things that we have done to make it easier for our presenters to go out and have basically a physical display of our trailer that we put together. Nebraska Operation Lifesaver took the initiative to build a mobile educational trailer that participates in events across the state of Nebraska and Iowa. And it was built for the simple reason, like when you get into this trailer, we have the actual console that they have in a train that people can see what an engineer or a conductor actually sees when they are driving down the train, and you know they're helpless when they see someone on the tracks. So this trailer gives them a visual aid to know exactly what the conductor and the engineer see. And so when we started this project about 5 or 6 years ago, one of the things I told my committee was that we will not start this project unless we have the funds to complete it. Because a lot of times you'll start a project, then you don't have the funds and it sits there. A lot of people didn't want to invest in this project because they thought that we would not use this trailer. Well, they were wrong, because what we had done is the Union Pacific and the Burlington Northern, which are my 2 main railroads across the state of Nebraska, donated different things, like the BN gave us a little bit of money to start with, and the Union Pacific donated all the consoles and all the actual, what do I want to say, the dials and the buttons and everything for the kids to see. And then they helped us put that part inside of our trailer. We personally paid for the trailer and the wrap and just different functions of the trailer. And we did it as we had the money. We did not, go into debt or anything like that. And one of the things that we do with that trailer is we go to events like the fairs, the train shows, equestrian up in Omaha, the College World Series. We were even down here last year for the Streets Alive. We were here a couple of months ago, or no, just a month ago, for the train show at the event center. They requested us to come back for the fair that's going to be the end, I think, of June, I think it is.
County fairs will be.
County fair, yeah, they requested us, and they, because of the display of our trailer, they give us free space. We don't ever have to pay for state fairs, county fairs, or any of that, because we are a visual aid for them, and it's an attraction. And it's not costing them anything for this attraction, because we provide all the giveaways that we give. We provide free presentations. And it's very professionally done, in my opinion. Of course. But anyways, with that trailer, we have done last year, and last year's numbers were down because one of the reasons is, with the cuts in the railroad industry, that had taken our presenters and they've gone to different places, different areas. So we did a total of 1,175 presentations, and the trailer is a big part of that because it goes to the fairs, and you get a lot of people going through the fairs. Like if you take Iowa, the way they do it over there, they're there for 12 days and they have a big train display and they go around and do presentations with that, and that is their big push. Well, we got the state fair and all the county fairs, and people request our trailer just to go to those different events. And we reached 11,973 people last year with, and that does not include the people that don't put their business into the system, so I just want to put that out there. And the reason why I'm here today is that since Roger is one of our partners and he so graciously comes to our meetings and endures me talking for 2 hours, we sent him a letter plus this invoice. The reason for this invoice, I came from the railroads. I worked for the Burlington Northern for 2 years, and then in 1977 I went to the Union Pacific. And I was on the Council Bluffs Service Unit who dealt with budgets and different things pertaining to money. And I know you can't give me money if you don't have an invoice or you don't have a piece of paper saying that. So that's why my best practice on the Council Bluffs or on the Nebraska Operation Lifesaver was giving out these invoices. Anyways, I sent them to my partners, which are the other short lines. The Union Pacific and the BN are our big benefactors, but we sent to the short lines, trucking industries, all the law enforcement agencies, and even the storm chasers are our partners. And we have the museums that are our partners. There's a new museum out in Grand Island that's a new part of us. So the reason why I'm here is we requested that we only asked for $300, and this $300 because we maintain that trailer. Like, we put new tires on it, we've had it realigned, we've had shelves and stuff built inside the trailer. We've done everything ourselves. We do not go back to the railroads and ask them for money because everybody's budget, you guys were talking about your budget and how tight it is. Well, everybody's budget's tight, so we don't want to put that burden back on them. And they come back at you and tell you, we just don't have the money. That's what they do. So that is the reason for my little document that I gave to you guys. So thank you for listening to me, and I really appreciate being here today.
Well, thank you so much for your presentation. Are there any questions for Ms. Daly? Is there yes,
I would
Roger.
simply, just for added information, to me, this is, should you choose to support that, and again, I do recommend that it's really more of an operating activity, not a capital, and there is plenty of money left in our operating budget under the insurance, banking, and miscellaneous contracts to make a $300 payment. That's where I would recommend to do it.
I would move that we make this $300.
Moved by Vest, seconded by Christensen. Any discussion? Well, you had me when you said Union Pacific. My mom worked for the Union Pacific, and so I know how important this is. So if there's no further discussion, please call the roll.
Well, most of the people don't get paid to do this. It's all volunteer work. So, you've got to appreciate your volunteers. And so, but I thank you for having me here today.
Well, thank you so much. Yes.
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 Okay, we are on to number 9, and Chris Humphrey is here, and of course Roger Feigard will
Chris
give
will
us.
do 33rd, and then I'll just give you a quick update on crossings. So.
Okay, we're all ears.
Good morning, everyone. Before I give you an update on the project, I want to introduce you to Aaron Keller. In the second row here, Aaron works for Olson, and as of the beginning of this year, he has taken over project management responsibilities for that, for the 33rd and Cornhusker project. So Aaron's very detailed. He's going to be a tremendous asset to the project, and I look forward to continuing working with Aaron through the next couple of years. Okay, so when we last met in December, Olson has been busy kind of refining the design on the project. We're currently zoning in on intersection designs, access locations. We did tweak the Adams Street alignment and 33rd Street alignment just a little bit. That did have an effect on some properties, but we have a public meeting that we're looking at scheduling in mid-June. And prior to that meeting, about a month before that, we'll have an advisory group meeting. And then prior to that, we'll be having one-on-one meetings with adjacent owners, people that lease or rent in the area as well. So we'll have all that information go out in the form of a letter if they want to come and meet with us. So,
Chris, may I interject? Have you already had one-on-one meetings with some of those individuals or companies that would be impacted?
We had one-on-one meetings prior to the last June public meeting. We have had some as development comes up, or if people are just interested on the status of the project. We have had several just one-on-one meetings or telephone conversations with different individuals, but not a formal effort. The letters will probably go out within the next few weeks or so. We were looking at having those one-on-one meetings end of March or beginning of April.
Okay, so they will be before the public hearing.
Correct.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. It was a pretty light, we've been doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work, but that was pretty much the extent of the update. I'm happy to take any questions from anyone.
Any questions for Chris? Well, thank you for the quick update. We're looking forward to the public hearing.
Thank you.
Okay, just a quick update on crossings. Just a reminder, over the last year, we did crossing improvements in the city of Lincoln at 33rd and Cornhusker, 48th and Highway 2, 27th and Highway 2. At the same time, through encouragement from Mr. Kudelik, we have been refining and updating, and I have some meetings that I need to set up now with the county, the city, and the railroads, in which we've produced a three-party agreement that would be between the RTSD, a railroad company, and then either the city or the county, where by practice over all these years, the RTSD has assisted in helping the railroad pay for some of the maintenance and repair that they do. So we've reviewed the rules and regulations from the Nebraska Administrative Code. I would remind the board the responsibility for maintenance and repair rests with the railroad, but over the years we have found being a partner, it really proves as a good incentive to get them to do those repairs. This agreement simply acknowledges that, but it also includes the city and the county, such that they're acknowledging the repairs are going to be made and that they will maintain the street surface as it comes up. So we've got a draft, and I still have meetings that I need to then set up on those as well. As we think about next year, and actually 5th and J, the spur track going into the lumber yard just west of here, is being temporarily repaired this morning as we speak. One of those that we do have a number of spurs, industry spurs that serve in the city. As we think about next year, for maintenance and repair, the actual panels at 56th and Old Cheney, while the city has repaired the streets, the actual panels themselves across the OPPD crossing are not great. That would be one that I'll be having discussions with them about doing. I also plan on taking our newest RTSD board member and doing a field visit and tour the rest of the OPD crossings in Lincoln and Lancaster County to see what else might need repair on that.
Roger, could you open that to all members that would love to join you if there's space?
Certainly. If there are more than 3 of you, then we'd have to advertise it as a public meeting. But my goal was, we talk a lot about BNSF and Union Pacific, but the OPPD crossings, and I had promised Roma to do that last year, and we didn't get that done. But I will certainly make that available to anyone that has an interest in doing that.
And so you can take 2 or 3?
I could take 3.
3, okay, so we'll just say the first 3 that respond and
Okay.
demonstrate real interest.
Yes, okay.
Going on. Okay.
Then with BNSF, the city has a resurfacing project on Southwood Drive that comes up, so we'll be looking at the Southwood Drive crossing to see if there's a need for that. The city's also proposing either this year or next year some significant resurfacing down in the South Bottoms, and the 5th Street spur that comes down and goes down to ADM. There are some crossings down through there that are in poor condition and would be wanting to work with the railroad on that. I also would like to resurrect and try to finalize and get the sidewalk built at 33rd and Cornhusker, because our 33rd and Cornhusker project will be out there long enough. We really should have pedestrian facilities for that. Union Pacific, continue to work on crossings at Northwest 12th, on what's needed and what needs to be repaired. Those are on my list. And I did get an email. The county is proposing a resurfacing project on West Raymond Road. That comes through and goes over the Union Pacific tracks there, and also that's part of a state spur. So that's another one that we would be looking at. If you're aware of other crossings that need some repair or help, you can certainly let me know. That's kind of where we are in crossings. Any
Great.
questions?
Any questions for Roger?
Okay.
Thank you for the update.
Okay.
Appreciate that. I believe we can move forward on item number 10, report on electronic records and document management.
Okay.
Always
So-
exciting.
Well, I figured out over Christmas vacation, as I was going through paper on my kitchen table, and then there was paper out at the MSC and some paper down here, that over 2018 and 2019, the RTSD had really done a good job of moving to electronic media for all of our meetings and our minutes. And maybe it just made sense to look at the rest of the paper records we had, and I knew that the county had a document management system. So early in February, I met with county clerk, Corey, Angela, Kelly, to just get a better sense of document management and what it is. We also met with records management staff. The RTSD still has some records over there. Certainly what the county does with the county clerk on meetings and agendas with all of you guys, the RTSD operates very much like that. So we're trying to look through and see how you categorize the records and what you would do with those. I've also met with city engineering. A big piece for the RTSD is how do you manage projects? What do you do with project records? How do you manage that? And so I have met with the city, and now I still need to meet with the county and see how the county engineer categorizes and puts project records into document management as well. Our attorney, Mr. Kudelik, has contacted the state, and it wants to review and update our records retention schedule 140 that is on file over there, get that updated, and then that can also give us better direction as we would look forward to document management. But the goal is to move ahead and move to a completely paperless organization. At some point I'm going to be gone, and somebody's going to say, well, where is, or what did you used to do? And if we can have that electronically, I think we'd be better off. So my appreciation to the county clerk's office, they've been very helpful, and they will continue to be helpful as we move ahead on that. I think that's really kind of where we are. So over the course of the next year, we'll continue to work on that. And other than my time, county and city staff has continued to be willing to meet and share information without a charge to the RTSD at this point. When we actually got to the point of needing to scan or do some things, I'm not sure. I am told that all of the financial records, the meeting minutes, and the agendas that we have on the web, because we have them on the web, it's very easy to just go grab those and drop them down into a document management system and not have to scan that. So we're a step ahead on that. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, I'll try to keep you updated over the course of the year. And I think this will make us all more efficient, more transparent, and have that information available.
So Roger, currently whose department is responsible for the scanning of the minutes and the scanning of all the documents and the support documents for our meetings?
Amy does all of that for us, and then
Okay.
we have Michelle Zolke in our office is the one that takes that information, does a test run, and puts that out on the web for us. The thing I'm not quite sure is, I'm not sure everything on the web is secure, and save. So it's possible we could lose some of that information. So by leaving it on the web, but also dropping in document management would do that. But we're doing that internally, and the interlocal agreement between the RTSD and the city says the city will provide that administration and that kind of help. That's part of what you're paying for in Amy's time and my time as well.
Terrific. Any questions for Roger? Okay. We can move on to item number 11. It's our public comment, and we invite the public to come forward and speak on any issue that's not on this agenda. Or,
I have just a couple of items if no one else shows up.
I see some new faces. You will have 5 minutes to speak
County
if you so
Treasurer and
choose.
the County Clerk's Office.
Oh,
That we're here today in case there was any questions.
okay.
You weren't here when I started. I'm sorry. I should have introduced you, but please stand up and introduce yourselves.
Angela Zobel. I'm going to be taking Kelly's place as the new records administrator in the county clerk's office after she retires and leaves us.
I'm Zach Gregory. I'm an information management consultant with Info First. I've been brought in to give you folks a hand with this.
And I'm Kelly Lundgren. I'm the outgoing records administrator.
Thank you. They've been very helpful and supportive.
Wonderful. Well, I guess seeing no public comment, except Roger has a few thoughts.
Just a quick thing. The current plan is to extend my contract to continue to serve as executive director through 20 and 21. So we'll be working on that. My contract expires the end of April. I've appreciated the opportunity to do that, and I'm thankful that the city appears to want to continue to do that. So, and as always, I welcome input, criticism if needed, and if not meeting your needs, I need to know that as well. But I look forward to continuing that. The four-state Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska Highway Rail Safety Conference is in Blue Springs, Missouri, and that is March 18th and 19th. Unfortunately, I have to be at a conference in Kearney speaking to clerks and whatnot, so I will not be able to go to that this year. I typically have gone, but I'll get feedback from a number of folks to see if there's anything new that we should be doing or looking at here. Just want to let you know I wouldn't be going to that this year. I will attend the National Committee meeting for the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. That's the middle of June in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So with that, that's all I have for non-agenda items. I could speak to, the next meeting is June 1st. We typically alternate between Mondays and Tuesdays to be respectful and try to coordinate with City Council and County Board times. And that's always the first Monday or Tuesday of the month in March, June, September, and December. Now, we're a little ways out. If somebody knows that they're not going to be here, obviously we need to have a quorum. And the June meeting is fairly early. So I want people kind of looking at their calendars and thinking about that. The sooner you know that you would or would not be here and letting Amy and I know, we could be thinking along the lines of whether or not we need to reschedule that meeting to have a full quorum. The other thing that occasionally, if there were an item that needed board action and we're not going to have it till later in June, that might be another good reason to defer a week or two later. But letting us know would be helpful in what to do with
At
that.
what time?
It would, well, we'd still always try to do the 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock, okay.
11 to 12:15 is what we've tried to do.
So I know I do have a conflict for that June 1st Monday meeting, and I'm hoping that you all could check your calendars for the June 8th, the June 15th, and would we even consider a June 22nd meeting, or is that too late, Roger?
No, I think that wouldn't be impossible to do. The meeting that is more of a challenge time-wise is the September meeting and the statutory requirement of when you have to get a budget submitted to the state auditor. You're approving a budget in June and sending a recommendation or request of levy to the county commissioners. They don't act on that until August, I think. So anything before July 1st, I think, works.
Okay, so if everyone could check their calendars and see if there's an alternative Monday in June that would work. Any other issues that we should discuss?
Did we want to look at the schedule now?
Sure, let's,
Yeah, I would prefer not to do it on the, let's see, on the 22nd of June or the 15th, actually.
Does
Is
it
the
make it
I have
easy-
no idea what my calendar's gonna be
Oh.
here and now, so.
Oh, okay,
I think
okay.
Well, let's-
better-
If you can,
Let's-
each of you that know what some of your calendar things are, sending that to Amy and I, and we
Oh,
will
okay.
put that
That's
down, and then as we
Perfect.
get closer, we'll be evaluating that. But I kind of agree with Roy, sometimes I'm not sure what I'm doing tomorrow, so.
perfect. Well, we will get something out and we
okay.
can move forward on that. Since there's no other business that we should discuss, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you all for your time and attention. We are adjourned.